Welcome to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. It is Wednesday. Today's actually April 15th. A lot of people refer to it as Tax Day. I have decided that since pretty much everything now has its own Awareness Day or Awareness Month, you know, there's like the Sibling Awareness Day, the Only Child Awareness Day, there's Autism Awareness Month, there's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, there's, you know, any other number of things that you can think of have either an Awareness Day, an Awareness Week, or an Awareness Month. So I have decided that April 15th, from henceforth, will be Tyranny Awareness Day. So instead of Tax Day, it will be TAD Day, Tyranny Awareness Day. And yes, I realize that there's two Ds there, and both of them stand for day, but whatever. Today is Tyranny Awareness Day, and because it is Wednesday, that is also the day where I answer your questions. It is the Ask Me Anything. And I just want to start off by saying that I have amazing friends. And some of those friends have amazing children. And I say that because of the first question that I'm going to answer this week. The question is not from a listener, but from a listener's daughter. The listener writes the question, and then I said, okay, I'll answer it. And then she said, my daughter asked me that this morning because she's been getting them a lot. I told her to do research on Google. Her response was, why don't you just ask your friend for his Ask Me Anything? And the question is, what causes hiccups? And this is something that I have never really thought about that much. Like, you know, every now and then, if I get a bad case of hiccups, I'll think about it, but not really a lot. And so I did some research, and according to Mental Floss, and yes, I will get into something from an actual medical website, but I really like the way they put this together. It depends on who you ask. The ancient Greeks thought that hiccups were violent emotions erupting from the body. However, today evidence points to spasms in the diaphragm, the large muscle between the chest and the abdomen that aids airflow during breathing. However, it is not really known why hiccups happen. They write in here, a spasm of the diaphragm can be brought on by any number of things that might irritate the nerves that control the movement of the muscle. What cures them? That is a very good question and an age-old question. And yes, I realize it's not the question that was asked by the person asking what causes hiccups, but when you talk about hiccups, when somebody gets like a bad case of hiccups, somebody always says, oh, well, what you need to do is, and then they give some kind of weird thing, like, you've got to turn your head upside down and try to drink a glass of water. Oh, just sit there and I'll scare you. Sit there and I'll tickle you, or any other number of weird things. So let me read from Mental Floss what they say cures hiccups, and then I will get into a little more of the technical stuff from medical news today about what actually causes hiccups and what doctors say about it. So a good cure also depends on who you ask. Among all the cures are based on one of two principles. One type works its magic by overwhelming the vagus nerve with another sensation. The vagus nerve is a cranial nerve that innervates the stomach and conveys sensory information about the body's organs to the brain. When distracted by overwhelming information of another sort, it basically tells the brain that something more important has come up and the hiccuping should probably be stopped. The vagus nerve stimulation is also used to control seizures in epileptics and drug-resistant cases of clinical depression. The other method for curing hiccups is to interfere with breathing, increasing the amount of carbon dioxide in the blood and causing the body to focus on getting rid of the CO2 and not making hiccups. Swallowing a spoonful of sugar is probably the most commonly prescribed hiccup cure and falls in the first category. And I have to say, this is not anything I have ever heard before. They write a teaspoon of sugar is usually enough to stimulate the vagus nerve and make the body forget all about the hiccups. Even ardent supporters of the sugar cure disagree if the sugar should be taken dry or washed down with water. If this home remedy does not work and your hiccups are both severe and persistent, you may need to bring out the big guns. For chronic cases like this, doctors sometimes use a cocktail of Reglan, which is a gastrointestinal stimulant, and Thorazine, an antipsychotic with sedative properties to quiet things down. In some cases that resist these drugs, Chemstro, an antispasmodic, is also used. Other doctors have used vagus nerve stimulators implanted in the upper chest of patients. The pacemaker-like devices send a rhythmic burst of electricity through the vagus nerve to the brain to keep the hiccup cycle in check. Sugar has always worked on our web editor, Jason, who gets hiccups. I prefer to hold my breath until they go away, and then they ask, what methods do you use? And before I get into let me go ahead and get into the Medical News Today article before reading the footnote from Mental Floss, where they talk about some of the more strange things that have caused hiccups. So, Medical News Today writes, a hiccup, which is medically known as synchronous diaphragmatic flutter, or singultus, or the abbreviation SDF, is a sudden involuntary contraction of the diaphragm, which occurs at the same time as a contraction of the voice box and total closure of the glottis, effectively blocking air intake. The glottis is the middle part of the larynx, where the vocal cords are located. Experts are not sure what causes hiccups and why we do them. However, most agree that they are often triggered by minor stomach upsets. Sometimes hiccups are said to be a psychological rather than a physical cause. However, nobody really knows. In the majority of cases, hiccups resolve themselves without treatment in a few minutes. Hiccups, which can occur individually or in bouts, commonly happen rhythmically. The interval between each hiccup is relatively constant. Most people find them to be a minor nuisance. However, prolonged hiccups can be a serious medical problem and require treatment. Prolonged hiccups affect men much more than women. When attacks last longer than a month, the hiccups are termed intractable. There's more when we come back on Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. The Doublespeak Dictionary by Leslie Starr O'Hara satirizes the marked difference between the ideal of we the people and the reality of we the elite, while offering an insightful glimpse into the clockworks of the totalitarian mind. Ever irreverent but never irrelevant, the Doublespeak Dictionary serves as a subversive and humorous but timely reminder that the emperor has no clothes. The Doublespeak Dictionary is available from Amazon.com and all major bookstores. Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. You can support FPP Radio by shopping online. Whether you're looking for t-shirts, precious metals, bitcoins, or books, you'll find that and more at shop.fppradio.com. There's an Amazon shopping iframe built into the website, or you can shop directly from FPP with Bitcoin in the Bitcoin store. Every purchase you make from one of my affiliates at shop.fppradio.com helps fund FPP Radio. That's shop.fppradio.com. Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. I'll get back to discussing hiccups in just a moment. But first, I want to make sure that I tell you about Roberts and Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts and Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts and Roberts Brokerage today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or visit them online at rrbi.co. That's rrbi.co. So I've explained what hiccups are. I've explained some ways to cure hiccups, but what actually causes hiccups? What do doctors say? What do the experts say causes hiccups? Well, they don't know. According to Medical News Today, experts are not sure what the mechanisms are that cause hiccups or why they even occur. According to studies and feedbacks we receive at Medical News Today, the following circumstances, conditions, and illnesses have been associated with a higher risk of developing hiccups. Hot food has irritated the phrenic nerve. The phrenic nerve is near the esophagus. When there is gas in the stomach, which presses against the diaphragm. When you have eaten too much food. When you have eaten too rapidly. If there is a sudden change in temperature. Fizzy drinks. Some people get hiccups after eating spicy food. Some people get hiccups after eating dry bread. Many people anecdotally report hiccups after consuming alcoholic beverages. Some medications, such as opiates, benzodiazepines, anesthesia, something that I don't even want to try to pronounce, barbiturates, methyl-dopa, and those drugs are known to cause hiccups. Some medical conditions are linked to a higher incidence of hiccups, such as gastrointestinal conditions, including irritable bowel syndrome, small bowel obstruction, or gastroesophageal reflux disease, respiratory conditions such as pleurisy, pneumonia, or asthma, conditions which affect the central nervous system, including a traumatic brain injury, encephalitis, brain tumor, stroke, conditions which irritate the vagus nerve such as meningitis, pharyngitis, or a goiter, psychological reactions including grief, excitement, anxiety, stress, hysterical behavior, or shock, conditions which affect metabolism including hyperglycemia, hypoglycemia, or diabetes. And according to Mental Floss, in addition to, and they list some causes, they put in addition to the causes that we have mentioned, there have been cases of hiccups attributed to skull fractures, tuberculosis, and constipation. And then, what are some of the possible complications of hiccups? And again, this is something that I have never thought of. Like, what can be some of the damage to the insides of my body if I get a case of the hiccups? If a patient has prolonged hiccups, complications may develop including Weight loss, in some cases, the hiccups are not only long-term but occur at short intervals, making it harder for the patient to properly eat. Insomnia. If the prolonged hiccups persist during the sleeping hours, the patient may find it hard to sleep and or stay asleep. Fatigue. People with prolonged hiccups may become exhausted, especially if they cannot sleep or eat properly. Communication problems. Persistent hiccups may make it harder for patients to communicate orally. Patients with long-term hiccups may get depressed and have a considerably higher risk of developing clinical depression. Post-surgical wound healing. If the patient is hiccuping all day long, post-surgical wounds will probably take much longer to heal. Some patients may have a higher risk of developing infections or start bleeding after surgery. And if hiccups, and yes, this is going to sound incredibly strange, but if a case of hiccups lasts longer than 48 hours, you should seek medical attention. And after they write, after talking to the patient about the hiccups, when they began, how often they occur, etc., the doctor will probably perform a general physical exam and a neurological exam to check reflexes, balance, coordination, eyesight, sense of touch, muscle strength, and muscle tone. If the doctor uses a general practitioner, or rather, if the doctor, usually a general practitioner, at this point believes an underlying condition may be the cause, the following diagnostic test may be ordered. Blood test to check for infection, kidney disease, or diabetes. Imaging tests to determine whether there are any anatomical abnormalities which may be affecting the phrenic or vagus nerves or the diaphragm. Endoscopic test. The doctor inserts an endoscope, which is a flexible tube with a small camera at the end, down the patient's throat to check the windpipe or esophagus. And they might do an ECG, which is an electrocardiogram that checks for heart-related conditions. And Medical News Today has some advice on curing hiccups. They put, according to the National Health Service in the UK, the following steps have been known to help some patients with hiccups. Sip ice-cold water slowly. Hold your breath for a short time, breathe out, and then do it again 3 or 4 times. Do this every 20 minutes. And I'm guessing they mean every 20 minutes until the hiccups are gone. So after the hiccups are gone, you don't need to hold your breath anymore. While you swallow, place gentle pressure on your nose. Place gentle pressure on your diaphragm. Gargle with very cold water. Bite a lemon. Take some granulated sugar and swallow it. Have a tiny bit of vinegar. Breathe into a paper bag. You should never cover your head with the bag. And, it's really sad that at this, stage of humanity that you still have to warn people, don't put a bag over your head. They also write, sit down and hug your knees as close to your chest as you can for short periods of time, or try leaning forward so that you gently compress your chest. If you have an underlying condition which may be causing the hiccups, then you will need to see a specialist. And then they talk about some medications that you might have to take if you do have these severe hiccups that are caused by medical condition. And here are some ways that you can prevent hiccups. Avoid abrupt temperature changes. Avoid drinking alcohol. Avoid fizzy drinks. Avoid large meals. And do not eat rapidly. Well, there you go. Pretty much everything you wanted to know about hiccups in 18 minutes or less. This is Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. There's more when we come back.
Hey, this is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends radio show. I've been working with computer programmer Derek Slopey to create Feinphone. I'm using Feinphone right now to talk with and record one of my co-hosts in real time. Take it, Davi.
Hey, this is Davi Barker, and I'm 1,000 miles away from Michael, but we sound like we're in the same room.
We sure do, Davi. So, Davi, please tell the nice people more about Feinphone.
Feinphone is free, open-source software that opens up a global world of possibilities for collaborative, high-quality remote voice media production, and I'm digging it.
People can try the Windows beta version of Feinphone right now at Feinphone.com. But we're also raising money to vastly improve Feinphone and vastly improve independent talk media worldwide.
So go to Feinphone.com to help out. Who will build the audio roads? We will, with your help.
That's Feinphone.com. Feinphone.com. Foxtrot, Echo, November, phone.com.
Feinphone. I never knew remote audio could be this good.
Bitcoin Not Bombs is a launching pad for nonprofits and social entrepreneurs into the financial freedom of the Bitcoin economy. Bitcoin Not Bombs offers premium publicity campaigns designed to facilitate an organization's adoption of Bitcoin as a payment system. Bitcoin Not Bombs is fully committed to being the hub of the nonprofit sector of the Bitcoin economy, maximizing the potential cross-promotion of all our clients and commercial partners. To learn more, visit bitcoinnotbombs.com. Welcome back to Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. Online at fppradio.com. I will continue with the Ask Me Anything in just a moment. But first, I want to make sure that I tell you about Survivor Max by Davi Barker. In Survivor Max, 11-year-old Max must survive the zombie apocalypse alone in New Hampshire. The slow-moving, non-thinking lame brains swarm his home searching for living flesh. Max must apply his Porcupine Freedom Scouts training to plan his escape, but first he must prove that he's too smart to die. Look for Survivor Max on Facebook and Amazon, or you can read Chapter 1 for free at survivormax.com. That's survivormax.com. So the next question that I have for the Ask Me Anything is a question asked by a friend of mine on Facebook who asked if I could cover a certain news story. And yes, I can. I will do that right now. The story that my friend asked me to cover is actually something that I mentioned a few weeks ago when I was asked about should a 4-year-old be circumcised or should... I forget the exact question, but basically the question was about the young child down in Florida where there's this ongoing legal battle because the parents had to file some sort of parenting agreement, and in the parenting agreement was something saying that the child would be circumcised, and then the mother decided, no, I don't want the child circumcised. The father is going to court trying to enforce this court order, and the parenting agreement, and really the only reason that the parenting agreement existed is because the courts got involved. And, well, now there are some updates on this. There was a lawsuit, a federal civil rights lawsuit that was filed on Monday of this week in federal district court for the Southern District of Florida on behalf of the 4-year-old child. And the lawsuit is against the father and the judge, who have together, the lawsuit alleges, have acted to deprive him of his civil and constitutional rights by threatening to circumcise him against his will. The minor seeks injunctive relief to stop all parties from violating his person and his rights. His attorney cites multiple counts of federal and state violations that have occurred and that the father and the family court threatened to carry out. The lawsuit, it's a fairly lengthy thing, so I'm not going to try reading all of the suit to you, but let me give you some information from the website chasesguardians.org, which is a website where they're trying to raise funds to cover the legal fees to protect the child. They write in their About section, Florida officials have failed to protect 4-year-old Chase Hironimus from forced unnecessary circumcision. His initial abuse went unchecked. His request for ad litem guardianship was denied, and his father, Dennis Nebus, has been granted guardianship. Florida law enforcement can seize Chase at any time, separating him from his mother and hand him over to be circumcised. Thankfully, they write, Chase's mother, Heather, continues to fight to protect him. New counsel has been retained for Heather, who, unlike her previous lawyer, is dedicated to securing justice for Chase. Judge Gillen has ruled that Heather must appear in court with her son, and she was to have signed a consent form by March 10th or face jail time. And again, the reason that she was due in court, it's not because the child was not circumcised. She was due in court because she had missed a previous court date. And she had to be in court for that other time because basically she failed to uphold her end of a contract. And that's really what the parenting agreement is a contract. And as much as I might not like what is going on down in Florida, where basically you've got the father saying, I want to do this unnecessary surgery on my son, you have people misrepresenting different things. So there was one headline that I saw that said, mother faces jail time for refusing to circumcise her child. And ultimately, 3 steps previous, that is where it began, but she's facing jail time for failure to appear in court and failure to abide by the contract. And again, the only reason that there's this parenting agreement, which is a contract, you can call it any other number of things, but she signed it, he signed it, it is a contract. But the one person who did not sign it is Chase Hironimus. And Chase is the one that is being affected by this contract. So one could argue that the parenting agreement contract is null and void because a party being affected by the contract is not a party to the contract. So that there's not any way that I could write up a contract that is signed by me and my next door neighbor that says that one of us is allowed to kidnap you. That would not be a valid contract, and I don't know of any court in the world that would try to uphold that contract. However, because we're talking about a minor child here, then all of a sudden it becomes a valid contract, because a 4-year-old can't read and sign legal papers, because a 4-year-old can't understand legal papers. And I would dare say that a lot of 30-something-year-olds, 40-something-year-olds, 50-something-year-olds, etc., cannot actually understand legal paperwork. They don't really know what they're signing. They know what somebody told them they're signing, but because it uses terms that they don't know, it cites statutes that they've not read, or if they've read the statutes, it cites a statute that they probably do not understand. So I would contend that if a 4-year-old can't read and understand and sign a contract, then no one can unless that person is a lawyer. And I think that that is a horrible position to take, because I don't think you should have to be a lawyer in order to be able to read, understand, and sign a contract. But that just goes to what some people refer to as the lawyer-industrial complex and the lawyerization of America, to where things become so complex that you have to have a lawyer in order to be able to do anything. So let me go back here to read some more from the About here from the website Chase's Guardians. Actually, no, I will not. I will post the link to the website as well as the link to the filing. I believe it's a 15-page filing of the federal lawsuit in Florida seeking to protect the civil rights of the 4-year-old child. And don't forget, every Wednesday I answer your questions, AMA at FPPradio.com, online FPPradio.com.